It is not an expensive object. It is not a complicated ritual. It does not require a special store or a rabbi's blessing or years of religious study. All it requires is a small piece of paper, a pen, and a single Hebrew word written with intention before the sun rises. That is it. And yet, in the Jewish wisdom tradition, this practice, the writing of a sacred Hebrew word and carrying it close to the place where your money rests, has been understood for generations as one of the most intimate and powerful acts of spiritual alignment a person can perform. Not because the paper has power, not because the Hebrew letters are a magic spell, but because the act of writing, of choosing a word, of carrying it with awareness, that act changes something in the person who does it. It changes how they see, how they move, how they receive. Stay with me tonight, because what I am about to share is older than you might expect. And by the time this teaching is finished, you will understand why the ancient teachers placed such extraordinary importance on words. Not only the words we speak, but the words we write, the words we carry, the words we allow to live close to us and shape us from the inside. But before I take you into the teaching, I need to speak to where you are right now. Because if something brought you here tonight, it was probably not casual curiosity alone. Maybe you are in a season where the money simply does not stretch far enough. You calculate and you budget and you try to be careful, and still at the end of the month, there is more month than money. The bills do not pause, the expenses do not wait, and somewhere in the back of your mind, a voice has begun to whisper that this is simply your life, that ease is for other people, that you are somehow behind a glass wall, watching provision flow freely for everyone around you, while your own hands remain stubbornly empty. Or maybe it is not the numbers that are crushing you most right now. Maybe it is the feeling underneath the numbers, the exhaustion of always bracing, the way your body tenses when your phone shows a payment notification, the way a simple dinner out with friends requires a calculation you wish you did not have to make, the way hope about money feels dangerous, because every time you have allowed yourself to hope, something has arrived to remind you that things are still not settled, still not safe, still not enough. You are carrying something heavy, and you have probably been carrying it for longer than you want to admit. I want to say this to you directly and without hesitation. You are not failing. You are not forgotten. You are not beyond the reach of blessing, and you are not too far gone for things to change. The struggle you are living is real. The exhaustion is real. The fear is real. But there is something underneath the fear that is also real. A hunger for alignment, for peace, for the sense that your life and your provision are moving in the same direction rather than against each other. That hunger brought you here, and it is worth honoring. But here is what the ancient teachers would want you to understand first. The change you are longing for does not begin in your bank account. It begins in your inner world, in the words you carry, the stories you tell yourself about money and about your own worthiness, and the daily choices that either align you with provision or quietly, persistently push it away. In Jewish wisdom, there is a concept that sits at the very foundation of how the tradition understands language and creation. It is this: words are not merely sounds or symbols. Words are forces. Words are vessels of reality. The Torah opens not with an action, not with a thought, but with speech. God speaks, and the world comes into being. Light is not created in silence. It is called forth by a word. The ancient teachers meditated on this for centuries and drew from it a radical conclusion. If the source of all reality brought the world into existence through speech, then the words that human beings speak, write, and carry are not neutral. They participate in creation. They shape what is possible. They open channels or close them. They invite or they repel. This is why the Hebrew language itself was treated with such reverence. In Jewish tradition, Hebrew is not merely a communication tool. It is understood by many teachers as a sacred language, one in which the shape of the letters, the sound of the words, and the meaning layered within them carry a depth that ordinary language does not. The Kabbalistic tradition, in particular, taught that each Hebrew letter contains within it a dimension of divine energy. That to write a Hebrew word with intention is to participate in something much larger than ink on paper. And this is where Parnassa enters the teaching. Parnassa, the Hebrew word for livelihood, for the flow of divine provision into a person's life, is not simply a concept to be understood intellectually. The ancient teachers encouraged people to make it physical, to bring it into the body, into the hands, into the daily objects of life, to write it, to say it, to carry it, because they understood that what we hold close to us shapes us. What we see daily teaches us. What we carry in our pocket, next to our money, next to the physical representation of our provision, that object speaks to us quietly and constantly about who we are and what we believe is possible. Pay close attention now, because this is the heart of tonight's teaching. The Hebrew note, the small piece of paper with a sacred word written on it and kept in the wallet, is not an amulet. It is not a charm. It is a declaration made physical. It is the ancient practice of bringing your highest intention into your most ordinary object and letting them live together day after day until the intention becomes not something you remember on special occasions, but something that breathes in the background of every financial decision you make. Now listen carefully, because the specific word matters, and the specific time matters. And the reason both of them matter will become clear before this teaching is finished. Let me tell you about a young man named Benjamin. Benjamin was 26 years old and already tired in the way that people twice his age sometimes are. He had started a small business, nothing grand, just a service he offered from his phone and his car and his own two hands. He believed in it. He worked hard at it. And for a time, it seemed like it might actually become something. But the money was unpredictable. Some weeks were good. Other weeks were so slow that Benjamin found himself lying awake at 2 a.m. staring at the ceiling, calculating, recalculating, wondering if he had made a terrible mistake. He had debt, not catastrophic debt, but the kind that sits on your chest and makes it hard to breathe freely, the kind that makes you hesitate before every decision. He began to change in ways he did not like. He became more closed, more guarded. He stopped sharing his ideas freely because he was afraid someone would take them. He stopped giving, even small amounts, because he told himself he could not afford to. He began to treat money like something that was always about to abandon him, and in doing so, he held it so tightly that the grip itself became exhausting. One morning before sunrise, he had not slept well and had given up trying. Benjamin drove to a small synagogue near his apartment. He did not know exactly why. He was not particularly observant, but something pulled him there. The door was open, and inside he found an elderly man setting up for morning prayers. The man's name was Reb Shimon, and he had the kind of eyes that made you feel seen before you had said a single word. Benjamin sat down. Reb Shimon finished what he was doing, and then, without any preamble, without any small talk, he sat across from Benjamin and said, "You are afraid of losing what you have not yet received." Benjamin stared at him. Then he laughed, slightly uncomfortably. Then he nodded. Reb Shimon reached into his coat pocket and took out a folded piece of paper. He unfolded it carefully and laid it on the table between them. On it, in careful Hebrew letters, was written a single word: Shefa. "Do you know this word?" Reb Shimon asked. Benjamin shook his head. "Shefa," the old man said. "It means abundance. It means flow. In the Kabbalistic tradition, Shefa refers to the divine overflow, the continuous outpouring of blessing from the source into the world." The teachers taught that Shefa is always flowing. Always. It does not stop. But we can position ourselves to receive it, or we can position ourselves to miss it. And the positioning happens here. He touched his own chest. And here, he touched his own hands. He slid the paper across the table to Benjamin. "Write this word tonight. Write it yourself with your own hand before the sun rises." Writing it yourself matters, because the act of writing it is an act of intention. It is you choosing to align yourself with what this word means. Then fold it and place it in your wallet. Not to spend, to carry, to remember. Every time you open your wallet, you will see it, and it will ask you a question. Are you living like someone in whom Shefa flows? Are your hands open? Are you giving? Are you trusting? Or are you gripping? Benjamin took the paper home. That night he stayed up just before 5 in the morning, in the quiet blue darkness before dawn. He took a piece of paper and wrote the word himself, slowly, carefully. He did not know Hebrew well, so he copied it from what Reb Shimon had shown him. But he wrote it with more care than he had given to anything in months. He folded it and placed it in his wallet. The next morning he opened his wallet to pay for coffee, and he saw it. Just for a second, just a flash of folded white paper with dark ink, and something in him, some small, tight thing, released slightly. Not dramatically, just slightly, like a thread of tension cut. Over the following weeks, he began to notice what the paper was asking him. Every time he opened his wallet in fear, it asked, "Is this how Shefa moves?" Every time he hesitated to give, even a small amount, it asked, "Is this how Shefa flows?" Every time he made a decision from scarcity rather than from wisdom, the paper, that folded, handwritten piece of intention, asked him to reconsider. He started giving again, small amounts. He started sharing his ideas more freely. He started making decisions from a place of trust rather than terror. And over months, slowly, the business began to find its rhythm. A client referred him to someone. That someone referred him to someone else. A door opened that Benjamin would have been too afraid to walk through 6 months earlier. He walked through it. He still carries that word in his wallet. He has written it fresh several times over the years, because he understands now that the paper is not what changed his life. The daily question the paper asked him changed his life. Now this is where the ancient wisdom becomes practical. Let me give you the 3 sacred keys of the Hebrew note practice. The first key is the power of the written word. There is a reason the ancient teachers wrote. The Torah itself is not merely spoken, it is written, and the writing of it is considered a sacred act. When you write a Hebrew word with your own hand, you are participating in an ancient and intentional practice. You are not passively receiving a concept, you are actively choosing it. The physical act of forming the letters, even slowly, even imperfectly, roots the intention in your body, in your hands, in your nervous system. It makes the abstract concrete. It takes a spiritual concept and brings it all the way down into the physical world. And that is exactly where your financial life lives, in the physical world. So the practice must touch you there. The second key is proximity, keeping the sacred word next to the place of provision. The wallet is the daily home of your Parnassa. Every time you open it, you are in a moment of financial awareness, however brief. Most people spend those moments in fear, in calculation, in worry. The Hebrew note in your wallet interrupts that pattern. It creates a tiny pause, a breath, a moment in which the word you chose and the intention behind it speaks to you before you make your next financial decision.
Over days and weeks and months, those tiny pauses accumulate. They become a new habit of mind, a new way of approaching the moments that matter most in your financial life. And new habits of mind, held consistently, become a new reality. The third key is the hour of writing, before sunrise. In Jewish tradition, the early morning hours before dawn are considered a time of particular spiritual receptivity. The Psalms speak of seeking God at first light.
The mystics taught that the veil between the physical and spiritual worlds is thinner in those quiet hours before the world wakes up. There is something real in this that even those without a religious framework can feel. In the silence before sunrise, the noise of the day has not yet begun. The mind is quieter. The heart is more open. When you write your Hebrew word in that hour, with intention, with stillness, with the awareness of what you are doing and why, you bring to the act a quality of presence that a rushed, distracted writing in the middle of the afternoon simply cannot match. Rise a few minutes early. Light a candle if you have one. Sit in the quiet and write the word as though it matters, because it does. Now let me give you the complete practice. Tonight, before you go to sleep, find a clean, small piece of paper, not a receipt, not a torn scrap, a clean piece, cut or folded to the size of a small card that will fit comfortably in your wallet. Set it aside with a pen. Set an intention to wake before sunrise. Even 15 minutes before is enough. When you wake, go to a quiet place. If you can light a small candle, do so. Sit in the stillness. Take 3 slow, deep breaths and let the noise of yesterday settle. Now write the word Shefa. In Hebrew, if you are able, Shin, Pei, Ayin. The letters that together mean divine overflow, the endless outpouring of blessing and provision. If you do not know the Hebrew letters, write the word in English, Shefa. The intention is what matters most, but if you choose to learn the Hebrew letters, and I encourage you to, write them slowly, one by one, with full attention. Beneath the word, write one sentence. Make it personal. Make it true even if it does not yet feel entirely true. Something like, I am open to receive what flows, or my hands give freely and my heart trusts completely, or simply, Shefa flows through me. Fold the paper 3 times. 3 is a number of completion and covenant in Jewish tradition. As you make each fold, say one word aloud. Open, grateful, ready. Place the folded note in your wallet, in a dedicated pocket or compartment, not mixed with your cards or your receipts, but given its own small space, its own honor. For 7 mornings in a row when you wake, take 1 moment before you pick up your phone or begin your day to hold your wallet in your hands and remember what is inside it. Remember the word. Remember the intention. Speak your declaration out loud. Each day of the 7, set aside a small amount for tzedakah, even the smallest amount. Place it in an envelope or a jar. On the 7th day, give it away with gratitude and without hesitation. This is the tzedakah seal, the act of giving that confirms the declaration of open hands. At the end of 7 days, write the note fresh. New paper, new ink, same word, renewed intention. Let this become a practice you return to, not out of superstition, but out of the recognition that you need reminders. That we all need reminders. That the act of returning to intention again and again is not weakness. It is wisdom. Now say this out loud, wherever you are right now. Shefa flows into my life. I am not closed. I am not blocked. I am not beyond blessing. My hands are open to give. and my heart is open to receive. I carry the intention of abundance close to my provision, and I choose every day to live in alignment with that intention. My Parnassa flows. My home is ready. I am ready. Say it again tonight before you sleep, and say it again when you write your word before sunrise. Say it like the words are seeds, because they are. The paper is not magic. The Hebrew letters are not a spell. No piece of paper, however sacred the word written on it, will open a bank account or solve a debt or create an opportunity from nothing. That is not what this practice promises. And any teaching that promises you that is not teaching you wisdom. It is selling you a shortcut that does not exist. What this practice offers is something both more honest and more lasting. It offers a daily point of return, a moment every morning when you choose your intention before the world chooses it for you. It offers a physical reminder, carried next to your money, that you are not a passive observer of your financial life, but an active, intentional, covenant-keeping participant in it. It offers the slow, patient, transformative power of a word held close. A word that asks you, every time you open your wallet, whether you are living in alignment with what you say you believe. The object is not the power. The intention you bring to it is the power. The word you choose to carry is the power. And the daily decision to return to that word, to let it shape you, to let it ask you its question, to let it pull you back from fear and toward faith, that is the power that changes things. If tonight's teaching stirred something real in you, I want to ask you to do one thing right now. Go to the comments and write these words. Shefa flows through me. Write it as a declaration. Write it as the first line of a new chapter. Write it because the act of writing, as tonight's teaching reminds us, is an act of intention. And your intention, offered sincerely, is never wasted. If you want to go deeper into these ancient Jewish teachings, to learn more about Parnassa, about Hebrew wisdom, about the sacred meaning hidden inside the ordinary objects of your daily life, please subscribe to this channel. Every teaching here is offered with reverence, with care, and with the genuine hope that something ancient can bring something real into the life you are living right now. And in the next teaching, I want to show you something that has sat on kitchen shelves and dining tables for thousands of years, largely ignored, largely misunderstood. A bowl of rice, a handful of grain, a simple staple of everyday life. In Jewish wisdom, grain is not simply food. It is a symbol of provision itself, of enoughness, of the miracle of multiplication, of the teaching that what seems small can become the foundation of abundance when it is treated with intention, with gratitude, and with the awareness of where it actually comes from. That teaching is coming, and it is quieter and deeper than you might expect. Until then, Shalom. May the word you write before sunrise carry you through the day. May your wallet hold both provision and intention. And may the shefa that is always flowing find in you a vessel that is open, grateful, and completely ready to receive.